Hello everyone, it's Laurie from Cook Scrap Craft, and up in the corner there you can see the inspiration that I took for this month's off the board Pinterest challenge. So you'll find this pin and lots of other scrapbook and card inspiration in my scrapbook and cards inspiration Pinterest board, which I'll have linked below, and everybody else who's participating in Off the Board with Pineapple Papers this month will also be linked down below. So feel free to hop along and play along. We'd love to see how you take stuff from your Pinterest boards and make it your own and get inspired, because that's what it's all about. We shouldn't just be pinning things. We should actually be using those pins and making things. So the layout that I am sort of reproducing here and taking inspiration from is from Kelly Bell Designs. It's actually a digital scrapbook page, and so you could purchase it, and if you're a digital scrapbooker and use the design, I think you just have to like throw your photos in. But I am not a digital scrapbooker. However, I really liked the design of this, and I thought I have a bunch of baseball photos, and obviously the baseball stuff that I'm using this week from my haul kit. And I'm like, I bet I could take this single page layout and I bet I could make it a double page. So that is my quest for today's process video. It's also why the process video is a little longer than normal, because I'm doing 2 pages. And also you can see I'm using a ruler. I have to measure things out, which is not super fun. I was kind of hoping that everything would just fall into place, but it did not. And there are no measurements in Kelly's digital layout, because obviously you don't need measurements if you're just buying the pre-made thing. I'm making this from scratch by hand, so I'm trying to figure out the best way to lay out all of these pieces. Essentially, there are supposed to be 3 photos on the first page with either a circular photo or a circular element. So I'm going to make it be a photo. So the first page is going to have 4 photos, and the second page is going to have 3. I think 4, 4 and 3. And the sizes of the photos, some of them are not your average photo size. I do a lot with 4x6, 3x4, 4x4. This one is calling for stuff that's a little different, and I wasn't quite prepared for that when I sat down to do this. So if you are also going to try your hand at this layout design, just be prepared to do some math. Maybe that's your strong point and you will have no problem figuring out the measurements of everything. Go for it. It is not my strong point, because I just, like I said, I like to just put stuff down on the page and make it work. So this was a little tricky for me. Basically, there are a combination of squares and rectangles from the pattern paper, and that's sort of creating what looks like a grid design kind of around the photos. It's almost sort of making a border around the photos. So it's not even equal of like, all right, there are 5 2x2 squares at the top. It's different because some of the rectangles are thrown in between the squares. So based on what I saw from the digital layout, I started with 2x2 squares. And then for the rectangles, I did 2 inches by 4 inches. Maybe that's not right. Maybe that's not what I was supposed to do. But then I ended up having a smaller space on the edge, and I didn't want things to go off the page. So I just had to figure out the right sizing to make a smaller rectangle fit in that upper corner piece. And then I had to figure out, all right, if I have a 4x6 photo, which is matted onto some brown cardstock. I think I cut the cardstock is actually 4x6, and I cut the photo down just a little so you could still see the brown border. And I chose brown because I had some brown cardstock in my stash, and it kind of went with the brown colors in some of the pattern papers. So actually this side of the layout is going to have the brown cardstock, and the other side is going to have red cardstock because I ran out of brown. It's okay. So I've got a 4x6 section and a 4x4 matted photo. And then there are 2 other photos going beneath the 4x4 photo. And both of those were, I think, horizontal 4x6 photos. And I do kind of screw up cutting one of them because I think I measured, but then I ended up forgetting the measurement a little bit. So it's a little bit smaller than the brown cardstock matting. But again, that's okay. I wasn't going to throw it out because I needed to have some sort of element there. And so I just kept it. Now I've got to come up with a circular element. And when I was going through my scrap stash of paper, I found this St. Louis Cardinals pattern paper that I forgot that I had. And since these are photos taken at a St. Louis Cardinals baseball game, I was like, well, I have to incorporate this St. Louis paper in some way. And so I'm taking my Creative Memories circle cutter, cutting a circle of the Cardinals paper, which is going to be a matting for this fourth photo. Some of the photos were taken by my daughter because sometimes I let her play on my phone to keep her occupied while we're at different events or things or places or whatever. And so she was taking some photos and they turned out pretty good. So I had them printed as well as the ones that I took. And so we've got photos of the scoreboard because the Cardinals eventually ended up scoring 10 runs. We did leave early, but they were definitely winning when we left. And then I always like to take photos of the scenery from our seats, get the whole field in there. And I took a photo walking up to Busch Stadium. So coming off of the metro station and what you see as you come down the street there. The circular photo is a close-up photo of the pitcher, actually the pitcher from the other team. And you can kind of see two of the Cardinals players on base. They're getting ready to run. So I like that I was able to crop that and zoom in a little bit closer to what's going on, the real action of the photo. And here I'm trying to figure out the rest of the placement for squares and rectangles. I was really trying to keep a similar design, at least for this side, a similar design as to Kelly's digital layout, because I thought that would make it easier if I just followed what she was doing, basically. Again, I didn't have specific measurements, but I was just trying to follow her square, rectangle, square, and then it goes to a rectangle on the side, then there's a square. And the circle, actually, the circle element, which I pop up on foam dots, it ends up covering up a little bit of some wonkiness with the placement of everything. So I kind of like having that piece there, and I am going to mimic it on the other side as well. Even though the other side is only going to have 3 photos, I'm going to make it work. Yeah, it's just a little surprise. I'm going to make it work. So I also need an element going below the 4x6 photo. And I'm choosing a 4x4 cut apart from this Color Play baseball collection. It says Eat, Sleep, Baseball. I will have to cut it down a smidge because at 4x4, it's a little too big to go underneath the photo without going off the page. So I'm going to keep it 4 inches wide, obviously, so that it's equal width underneath that photo. But I'm going to crop it down a little smidge, I guess, height-wise. I said width-wise first. Height-wise is going to be shorter because I want to be able to see some of that white cardstock peeking out from the back so that it looks like it's part of the border. And actually, I don't show this in the video, but the white cardstock is actually not plain white cardstock. It's the backside of a pattern paper from a Michaels paper pad. And I thought, I really wanted there to be white. I didn't have two colors of single color cardstock that I could use for a 2-pager. And the original layout, I think, might have white in the background. So I think that's why my eye was drawn to that. But I also didn't want to use up my Vicki Boutin Foundations paper on something where I wasn't doing mixed media. So I just went to this Michaels paper pad that I had in my stash, and I picked a piece of pattern paper that I didn't like so much, and I just flipped it over, and the other side is white. So there is something to be said for pattern papers that are not double-sided, because then you just get a nice solid white color and you can use it for anything, which is kind of nice. So that's what I did here. And you can see that I am kind of moving things around, moving some of those rectangles to go underneath that popped up circle bit, that popped up circle photo. And now it's time to add some embellishments. There actually isn't a place on this 2-page layout where I'm going to do journaling, but I feel like the other photos that go along with these photos that I put on a different layout will be enough to draw the eye, to tell the story of what this was. I'll probably go back and add the date at least somewhere, just so I can remember the exact date that we were at the game. There will probably be a space to do that. I'll find it or I'll make a small like journaling tag and stick it somewhere as I go back through and do this. So the embellishments I'm using are from the Play All Day Boy collection by Echo Park. I have stickers and chipboard embellishments. And I also have some Simple Stories baseball themed ephemera pieces. And those are, just paper ephemera pieces. So I like having the different textures and I guess, what do I call them? Media bits. You've got chipboard, you've got the shiny stickers, you've got the matte paper. I like having different types of embellishments on my layouts because I just think it adds more visual interest, some dimension, something a little bit different, especially when you're mixing collections the way that I'm doing right now. A lot of really cool stuff in that Play All Day Boy collection. I think I've used I probably have used all the baseball stuff by now. But I do have a lot of other really fun things in there that I know I can use for my daughter's basketball pictures or just like outdoor play pictures. There's some race car stickers on here, and I so wish that I had that when I was doing my layout of my daughter at the Indianapolis Children's Museum, because they had an outdoor racetrack and I did take photos of her driving the car. And I remember doing that layout and thinking, man, I don't have any embellishments. And this would have been perfect to have for that, but it's fine. I'm not going to go back and fix it. I will save these and use them however I can make them fit with future photos. Or maybe I will find someone else who can use them and give them away too. I don't know. Do you guys donate any of your craft supplies that you no longer use? I would love for you to tell me in the comments if you do and where you donate your no longer needed craft supplies, because that would be a good idea for those of us who maybe have stuff in our stash that we really just should get rid of. It's high time. We're never going to use it, but somebody else could use it. And I feel like maybe there's a specific place to donate these types of supplies as opposed to just giving them to Goodwill and Goodwill being like, well, we don't really know what this is, just put it on a shelf, So I'm wondering if there's a specific way that you guys donate or other things that you do with scrapbook and craft supplies that you no longer want. So I'm creating some embellishment clusters going around that cut apart piece as well as the circular piece. And I'm adding a couple little star stickers that are from that sticker sheet. Some of them are chipboard and I'm sticking them down with glue dots and just creating like something fun. And now it's time for the second page. So as I did on the first page, I am inking all the edges of all the squares and rectangles just to make them stand out a little bit more from that white cardstock. And again, this is also another piece of paper from a Michaels paper pad that I just flipped over to use the back side, which was all white. So now I'm just adhering things down. I'm not keeping the patterns the same, but I am doing a similar design on this side of the page. So it's square, rectangle, square, square, rectangle flipped. That's a little bit smaller. But I'm doing different patterns because I didn't want it to be too mirror imagey. It is mirror image in the design, sort of. When we get into the photos, things start to change a little bit, obviously. And like I said before, my backing cardstock for these photos is going to be red because that's the color that I had. So I had to go back into my scrap cardstock stash and find something that would fit the color scheme of these color play papers and embellishments. And red is always a good one for baseball. I mean, red is also the color of the Cardinals baseball team, but I think red, white, and blue are just really good baseball colors because it's such an American game. And it happens during the summer, which makes you think of 4th of July and barbecues and all that kind of fun stuff. So I'm going to mat that photo, which was a cut down 4x6 photo matted on a 4x6 piece of cardstock. And I'm going to stick that in the mirror image of where the other one was, right underneath that first square and rectangle. And I'm cutting out quite a bit of this because you don't really need to see everything for how I put together the second page of this layout. But I did want to keep this part in because just like on the first side of the page, I'm going to put a 4x4 cut apart down underneath that 4x6 photo. This is an example of how anybody can make a mistake with cutting. It happens, even though you try really hard not to. I was getting confused and thinking I needed to cut a little bit off of each side. So a little bit off at the top and a little bit off at the bottom. And it turns out I should have just kept it 4x4, or maybe I should have measured the other one that I cut first. This is why when I do 2-page layouts, if I am going to be using an element that's the same size on one side, I will just go ahead and cut it at the same time as I'm cutting the first one. So like I would cut everything first and then say, okay, these are the pieces for the second page, and they're already cut. And then I don't have to worry about remembering, oh wait, I just put this down. Was it 1 inch? Was it 1.5 inches? Just a little tip. I don't always take my own advice. That's okay. Here I've got the measuring the ruler out again because I want to make sure that I get this cardstock, this red cardstock, cut down to the right size because I'm using that to mount the other 2 photos that are on this page. I feel like I used a lot of the embellishments on the first page, so I'm not going to do a whole lot of crazy embellishments on this page. And I ended up using almost all, I think I used all of the Simple Stories baseball embellishments. And like I said earlier, I pretty much used up all the baseball embellishments that were part of that Echo Park kit. So any other baseball layouts that I have yet to come, I'll either need to get more embellishments or I will need to make my own. So we'll see what happens because I have another baseball layout coming out on Friday for this month's Iron Crafter Challenge. So stick around for that one. If you are a subscriber, it'll show up in your subscription feed. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so to get me so much closer to 1,000 subscribers. And if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back to the channel. I hope that this video is inspiring for you. Whether you're a subscriber or not, if you have any questions about anything that you see me do in this video, or the products that I'm using, let me know down in the comments below. Or if you don't have a question, feel free to just say hi and let me know that you're here and watching. And thank you so much for watching this video. I know this is a longer one than what I normally do, so I really appreciated that you watch all the way to the end. It's almost over, I promise you. I'm getting these 2 photos down. I decided to do 2 4x4s instead because I only have the 3 photos on this side. But so that means I'm going to have some extra space down at the bottom underneath that second photo. So to remedy that, I need to go back and cut another paper strip, another pattern paper strip to go underneath. So luckily, I just happened to have a strip of paper that was within easy reach. It's a different pattern than the ones that I've used before with the squares and rectangles, but I thought that's okay because this isn't an element that's mirrored on the other side. So this is going to be an element that's unique to this side. So I can make it be a different pattern paper. And I don't really have to justify using a different pattern. I'm just going to use it. You know, if somebody goes through my scrapbook album and is like, oh, this pattern wasn't on the first page, I'll just be like, yep, you're right. So I'm putting that down. It's trying to kind of make sure that I have enough spacing, the right spacing between the 2 photos and that bottom piece down there. Now, obviously, there was a circular element on the first side, so now I'm going to add a circular element on the second side. Since I don't have a photo, I fussy cut, or no, I didn't fussy cut. I used my Creative Memories circle cutter to cut out that baseball from a cut apart from the Color Play collection, and then I will mat that on top of this St. Louis Cardinals pattern paper, which I used on the first page as well. So it's kind of a mirror-y image. I just really liked having that circle element and how it kind of covered up some of the imperfections of the spacing with the squares and circles and that kind of thing. And it also just gives, I'm going to pop it up on foam dots again, so it's going to give the second page a little bit of extra dimension as well, a little bit of extra something, especially since I'm not going as heavy-handed with embellishments on this side as I did on the first page. Let me know down below if you guys do 2-page layouts more often or single-page layouts. I feel like I have been doing quite a few double pages just because I have so many photos that need to get on a page. but I do a lot of single pages as well. So let me know which one you like the best. Also, let me know if you're a digital scrapbooker or a paper scrapbooker, because like I said, I was inspired from a pin in my Scrapbook Cards Pinterest board that is a digital layout. You can go and purchase it from Kelly, and all you have to do is add your photos. You don't have to go through the stress of measuring pattern paper squares. So let me know down below what you prefer, how you prefer to scrapbook and tell your stories and record your memories. So I've added a sticker up at the top that said Kids at Play. It doesn't really have anything to do with baseball, but the photo that it's on is of the little play area that was at Busch Stadium that my daughter was really, really into. It was very cool. They had a section for little kids and a section for bigger kids. And so I thought Kids at Play would be appropriate there. I was going to use something else, and I moved that over to the baseball circle. So there's a little thing that says go, like, you know, go team. That's what I was going for. And then I've got a baseball glove with a baseball in it. That's a chipboard element. I had a baseball bat. I will bring that back because I need something a little bit bigger. I'm trying to create embellishment clusters of 3s, and so I do need something to go toward the bottom of that circle. So the baseball bat is going to make an appearance. There's both of the pages kind of together. I'm just trying to like see what I did on the first page to see how I can create something similar on the second page with, you know, the clusters and everything. The glue dots work really well for sticking down those chipboard embellishments, just FYI, because they've stopped doing adhesive backing on the chipboard elements, which is fine because it never worked anyway. But if you get some chipboard elements and you try to peel paper backing off and you go, oh, there's no paper backing, that's right. So you have to add your own adhesive, but the glue dots work really well for that. So now I'm just kind of doing some finishing touches here. Like I said before, I don't have journaling right now. I'll probably go back and add the date somewhere. But yeah, I mean, they're baseball photos, so there's really not much to say. And I have so many other photos from this baseball game that I think everybody's going to get the idea. We were at a baseball game. It took place on the same day, and I think it's going to be fine. I know a lot of people do journaling on the back of their layout, so that's always something that I could think of doing if I really wanted to. But I tend to do journaling right on the front, handwritten, because I don't really care what my handwriting looks like. Even if I make a mistake, sometimes I'll just white it out and try again, right? So don't be afraid of your handwriting. Here are the close-ups and the finished layout side by side. I hope this was inspiring for you and that you come back again for more scrapbook process videos. I'll see you next time.